students, it is Mo Jackson, Mr. Jackson's first cousin. Mr. Jackson couldn't be here, so he asked me to come in and teach you about archaeology. So hang tight for the next 5 minutes. You're going to learn about why archaeology is so important. So hang tight with me. All right, now, some of you are saying, well, what is archaeology and why is it so important? Believe it or not, archaeology is very important. It's the study of our past through artifacts. What does that mean, study of our past through artifacts? It's just, well, the things that we find in the ground, the things we find in the ocean, the things sometimes even find in the air, helps us discover how we once lived. Now you go, well, how is that possible? Now, let me tell you something. There is a movie out there in Hollywood that they got, I think it's called Indiana Jones. Any of y'all have ever seen this movie, Indiana Jones? They got a version of what they consider archaeology. Let me tell you what they say archaeology is, okay? Now watch this video. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this.
If adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones. From Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You don't believe me? You will, Dr. Jones.
Now, that's Hollywood. That's not really what archaeologists do. That's fun, that's exciting, but that's not really the work of archaeologists. Archaeologists, the work really takes a long time to do. It's very painstaking, it takes quite a while. It's a long, tedious process. Look at these two young students about your age. Look at them. What did they do? Are they jumping around like Indiana Jones doing? No, they're playing in the mud. Well, it looks like they're playing in the mud, but actually they're doing really tedious work in the mud. It is back-breaking, long, tedious work and requires much patience. All right? Now, see like this lady here? She's been all day out there. It takes all day long to do the type of work. Lots of patience because you're dealing with fragile items. Items that can easily break, items that have been in the ground for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and so you have to be exceedingly careful when you're dealing with them. All right, so archaeology work is not easy to do, but it is exciting if you choose this as a career, because I know some friends of mine who are archaeologists, and it's pretty cool if you have the patience to do it. All right, now, archaeologists do something what we call excavating. Excavating is where you go into the earth and you carve out a little piece of the earth. By the way, you got to get permission when you're doing archaeology. You just can't run around and do archaeology. You have to get permission from the city and the county here in Loudon. If you want to dig like these people, look at this, how they've dug these holes and excavated. You have to get permission. Now, archaeologists study the find artifacts. Unlike a paleontologist who study things like fossils, archaeologists study things like cups, spoons, artifacts, just pretty much everyday items. They study those type of things so that to get an idea of how the past lived. Now, paleontologists study things like fossils, dinosaur bones, and they discover those animals and how they at once lived. All right, now look at this. All of that area right there has been excavated. That took some time to do. Some time to do. So it does take quite a while to get things done. All right, now when you say, well, why does it take so long, Mr. Jackson? Bo Jackson, why does it take so long? Here's why. Look, you got all this glass. You've got all these cups. Look at this stuff. It's so fragile. Look at this. I don't even know what that is. Looks like an old shoe to me. But I bet you that it's hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old. Well, I don't know about thousands because they didn't have shoes thousands of years ago, but definitely hundreds. And we don't even know if it's even a shoe or not. But it's so fragile, you have to be exceedingly careful. Exceedingly careful. All right, now, they don't just work on land, they also work in the water. Well, why would archaeologists go in the water? How many of you remember the movie Titanic? Or you're probably too young to remember the Titanic. Ask mom and dad about the Titanic and what happened. One of those Marvel things that, not a great thing, but it did happen. The ship went down in the Atlantic Ocean, and it was supposed to be one of the greatest ships ever. If you ever get to see the movie, probably when you get to maybe eighth grade or high school, mom and dad may let you look at it. It's really a pretty cool story. But there's a lot of, even the History Channel has stories about it. You can go on the History Channel and ask Google Titanic, and they'll show you some like old footage. But now look here. Look at that old footage right there. Isn't that cool? You get to see exactly how the people on the ship were living, and that's how they were able to recreate the movie. Based upon people's stories that were, because there were some survivors. Not everybody died. There were some survivors. And then you also take the archaeologists who went into the water and they could see some of that fine china. The china that you go to grandma's house, if you touch, she goes, don't you touch my fine china. Don't you touch my fine china. All right. So that's kind of that expensive fine china. So that's the cool thing about archaeology. It allows us to study the past and get an idea of how people once lived, like Mo Jackson. That's all I have for you. Thank you. And I will go more deep in depth about archaeology when you come to class. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.